Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion. Please abiding by AFTERBIRTH Plus. I don't know why there's no music. I think I muted it when I closed the game last time, and I have to get back into the options menu to unmute it. By the way, it gives us a very somber tone, but by the way, I don't know what happened to the first save file, but I have a theory. The save game gremlin broke into my hard drive, and no, what actually happened, I'm sure, is that I minimized Isaac and then was just going like bip, 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 or playing the golf club or something, and I accidentally deleted it. But people are like, oh, now you gotta do it again. Nah, it's okay. I'll just go like Alt F2, Alt F2, or we can just copy it over in the save files. I'm not gonna do it yet because, you know, like maybe we want a new save file when Repentance comes out, whenever the heck that is. There we go. But yeah, for now, nothing to worry about. So let's see, we've got Cathedral unlocked. We've got Hush unlocked. At some point, we're gonna have to do an Azazel. Let's do one now. We can pretty much do like a whole path, and maybe we could be unique. PGQB 2FS3. We could do something unique and like beat. And this is a bit of a long shot. We'll see if the run warrants it, but we could beat Delirium before we beat Blue Baby. Not before we beat Isaac. No, maybe before we beat Isaac. I don't know. I guess we'll give it a shot and we'll see how it looks. Or maybe we'll just die as Azazel. In order to fight Delirium, you have to beat Hush, or you have to... If you want to guarantee your fight against Delirium, you got to beat Hush. Which is not guaranteed when you're talking about Azazel. Talking about your low-range Azazel. So you can like divine this by the tone of my voice. I am a little bit under the weather. I mentioned it in an Isaac episode a little while ago. It's been a really bad like summer and now early autumn for illness. PAX Pox is like obligatory. Most people get it when they go to PAX. If you have a superhuman immune system, more power to you. I'm happy for you. What do you eat? I want to know. Dude, we took soy milk recently, so we don't have to take it as Azazel. Soy milk as Azazel is miserable, so I'm very happy to not have to subject myself to that. My voice was addled in August because my province, and really like my city, had the worst air quality. Oh, what? I mean, this is great, but also simultaneously, like, I wish I could leave so that I could go back. Please teleport me. It's not worth using the judgment yet, but here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to place it. I'm going to blow these up. Telepills, please. I know it's not telepills. Fair enough. Dude, it's worth it for Guppy's head, but I hate missing out on an item there just due to a lucky dice roll, basically. But yeah, my voice was bad when there was smoke, and then, you know, PAX Pox, and then the one that really bums me out was being sick for a month in July, or 3 weeks in July, but, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm basically over it. It's just, again, I'll feel the need to remind people I feel a lot better than I sound, and yada, yada, yada. And no, I don't know why my immune system craps out when my province is inundated with wildfire smoke or a bunch of people not washing their dang hands. It's okay, though. I wanted to say today's Sunday. Yesterday was my first day off where I had no plans. Well, not ever, but like first day off where I had no plans. And I'm starting to think like days off kind of rule. I'm not trying to rub it in. But there's been a lot of talk. Like there was an article in The Guardian. No, not Destiny. I'm talking about The Guardian, not of the Forge, but of the United Kingdom, I think is where that's based. Anyway. And it was talking about how, like, YouTubers are always struggling with burnout, and, you know, I get it, actually. I really do. Even if I might sometimes seem like I disparage my colleagues for complaining about having what, in my opinion, does still amount to, like, basically being a dream job. I get the idea behind burnout. You know, you basically have to work every single day. The pressure's on to have a hit. And then on top of that, there's, like, an algorithm out there that basically decides whether or not your videos are going to get sucked into the ether. Or, you know, put on display in front of maybe hundreds of thousands or millions of people. I'm going to choose not to take any of those, but I'm also going to see if we can get to an arcade here. We'll see. So I do, and I'm being sincere, I do understand the burnout, but dude, taking a day off, who would have thought, everybody, probably, Who would have thought? But dude, it just helped out like my mentality so much. What did I do yesterday? Well, I woke up and I said, "Woo." I woke up and I said, "Ooh." That was the first step. I said I could work, but then I just went, nah. And I played 54 holes of golf in the Golf Club 2019, which sounds like a lot, but that's really like 45 minutes of golf. Take me down to the next floor. I want Boss Rush, if we can get there. I did 2 race weekends in F1 2018. My wife came home from a music rehearsal, and I was like, it's like 2 p.m. I was like, what do you want to do for lunch? She's like, I don't know, what do you want to do? And I was like, do you want to walk around Vancouver, get some pho, maybe buy some groceries? So we did that. Had a nice little afternoon together, got home. And I was like, hey, you know, I was starting to feel like a real, trying to think like a real 30-year-old man. I was like, well, you know, we could use some more storage space. Got all those cans of chickpeas we've been hoarding for a long time. I'm gonna use them. So I took 3 cans of chickpeas, prepared them, you know, baked them, seasoned them, and now I got a nice snack that I can, you know, just have like basically some chickpea popcorn. Toss it into a wrap or into a salad for some extra crunch. What happened after that? My wife was like, Hereditary's on video on demand. Maybe we should watch that. And I was like, oh, let's do it. But I hope I don't get spooked. It's a long movie. It's spooky. I enjoyed it immensely. 2 hours and 7 minutes long. After we watched it, we went out and grabbed some dinner together. It was just a nice day. And then I went to bed. And here's the thing. I did all that. And it's not like it was productive. It's quite the opposite. It was like productive non-productivity. I was always doing something, but it was never work. When I went to bed like an hour earlier than I normally do on a work day. I feel so good today, despite the fact that, you know, I got like a lot of mucus up in my mucosal membranes. I feel great. Dude, it's been such a big help. I know it's not so easy, you know, to tell other YouTubers and Twitch streamers just take a day off, lol, but like, you know, it helps. I don't know, I guess I'm just bragging at this point. It's just nice to have a weekend day, like. I had actually forgotten what it was like to some extent. And even that sounds braggadocious, because whenever people talk about being busy, it's always like, oh, it can't possibly have fun. I'm so busy with things that I opted to do for myself and my personal growth, you know? But, like, I really did forget what it was like to just have a day and be like, I'm just gonna do friggin' nothing. Dude, we've definitely had to have had all of these, right? So I don't even think this guy works yet. No. But we are 1 away from becoming Guppy on a non-devil deal run, which is absurd. Anyway, I'm just saying that to make you jealous and hope you're happy for me. We're back. The thing about a Sunday now, though. You would think that on a Sunday I might be a little bit, I don't know, melancholy is a good word, because I remember, you know, when it's a Sunday and you're going back to school the next day and you're like, oh, I don't get another day off for like 5 days. I'm like, nah, dude. I don't feel that way at all. I'm like, I get to do some cool streaming this week. NHL 19 comes out, at least for early access. The new Tomb Raider game comes out, and I probably won't play it. I don't know what happened, though. I've been absorbed in F1 2018, the video game based on the movie. I looked up all the races for the rest of the season, and there's like 1 race in Japan that has like an 11 p.m. PST start time. And there's 1 race in America that has like an 11 a.m. PST start time. And the rest of them are 5:15 a.m. So I'm in this like infancy F1 bubble where I don't know if I'm gonna try to get into the sport, because like, I gotta be honest with you, F1, it's tough. The NHL season, I mean preseason, starts in like a week. Might suck up all my sports related time. Anyway, those are like the only anecdotes I had to talk about whatsoever. Normally on my day off, I do something a little bit more productive, I guess. It is not really the right word to use, but I'm going to use it anyway because I can't think of a better one. You know, we went to, you know, the Cotton Candy Festival, and I had lemongrass cotton candy. What do you think about weird foods? You know, happens from time to time, no question about it. The only thing I can really talk about, though, is Hereditary. And I'm like, I gotta admit, when I was a kid, I believed that horror movies, and I know this is not just me, because I've talked, like, Austin had, like, the same, and to some extent still does, and so do I, the same belief that, like, a horror movies held some kind of eldritch power. The first time I saw a horror movie in theaters was at my friend's 13th birthday. I went to the theater to see the movie Darkness Falls, which is about a malevolent tooth fairy. I know. Again, this is what... There's like two kinds of horror movies that have come out since the year 2000. There's like really, really great ones, and then there's ones that are like, this thing from your childhood is now bad. Ring Around the Rosie, coming out this April. Hopscotch. Sorry, Hopscotch. Where will you jump next? Maybe to your death. Hopscotch, coming out the first week of January. Hoping that you don't know how to parse a trailer and figure out that this is gonna be garbage. And then the other one is just really, really good movies where you're like, okay, fair enough. Babadook, It Follows, Hereditary. Apparently the scuttlebutt was that... Well, let me finish my earlier thought, which was, we were gonna see Hereditary when we were at my parents' house in June. And then, I will say, my wife was like, I think it's gonna be too scary to see in theaters. And I was like, you know, I'm not gonna push anybody. Anybody out there who would respond to something like that, somebody like bearing a vulnerability to you with like, oh, come on, don't be scared, you baby. It's like very offensive, and, you know, it's a betrayal of somebody's trust, especially your spouse. So I was like, you know what? We don't have to see the movie, that's fine. In my head, I was kind of relieved, because I'm like, I don't have to be scared in front of my parents. Which I probably would have been. So then watching the movie last night, I was like, oh my god. I'm really glad we didn't see it in theaters, just because it would have... If you haven't seen Hereditary, I really recommend it. It's not like there's no jump scares whatsoever, but also, it's very, very tense. Like, the 95% of that movie is tension. You know, they don't take the movie and, like, you know, get tension, release it, like most horror movies do. Where they're like, you know, they get the strings going, brrr, and you're like, oh, there's a scare coming, and then it's just a cat that goes like, meow. The whole movie is just like, bleep. But if you haven't seen that, I would recommend it. I heard that it's got kind of like that Annihilation thing going on, where, because I'll admit, you know, the movie does get a little arty, which is, I mean, that's really short for arbitrary, maybe. I think a lot of people, as the movie goes on, are going to be like, what's happening? So I can understand why it, you know, was beloved by critics, not necessarily beloved by fans. Even talking about it on Twitch, I was like, hey, I saw Hereditary, and like half the people were like, it owns, and half the people were like, it sucked. But I think that's just the internet. Nobody's out there like, quick, I gotta type in NL's chat. I thought it was pretty decent, but there's better. You know? But I would recommend it. I will say, you know, it's not even the same genre, because Annihilation is a sci-fi movie, and this is a horror movie. What I'm saying is that, like, they both have acts in the film that are perhaps divergent from what you might originally expect based on the genre. And as a result, I consider them kind of kindred spirits, you know, they're films that to some extent challenge the perceptions and also the, you know, cinematic IQ of the people watching it. I'll admit, I didn't really like Annihilation that much, to be honest with you. I wanted to, but I bowed out relatively early in, you know, like 45 minutes in, I was just like, this isn't for me. I finished it, I watched the whole thing, there were some cool moments, but guess I'm just not galaxy brain enough to appreciate it, you know? But Hereditary, after I finished it, I was like, I need to look up, like, theories and plot synopsis and etc., etc. Hey! Dude, now we're talking. I liked watching my score go down in real time, as well. Dude, score in roguelites is so weird. Like, I don't envy the developers, but... And I used to care about my ranking in Isaac so much more than I do. Like, we're not even doing dailies. We're gonna have to do them at some point, but... You know, when we do them, I do care about my ranking, and I'm like... You know, if something feels like a ripoff, and you're like, I'm losing points for arbitrary reasons, it's annoying. But simultaneously, like, every roguelite does it. I think the dailies in Slay the Spire are the best dailies in any roguelite I've ever played in my entire life, sincerely. And even still, there's things that you get points for on the dailies that don't really seem like they should make any sense. Like, I mean, what's your philosophy? Like, in Slay the Spire, should you get more points for making your own life harder and winning anyway? It's like the one time I'm ever going to be happy to have a range upgrade. Or should you get more points for playing as close to, like, mathematically optimally as possible? I knew I was going to get hit somewhere there. Like, what I'm getting at is there's, like, you get extra points the more curses you add to your deck. And the more curses you have in your deck at the end of the game. And the more copies of cards just in general you have in your deck at the end of the game. So, you know, sometimes it can be good to have curses, but most of the time curses are a detriment. Let's just head down. So in some situations, it does kind of feel like you're like, man, Slay the Spire is really rewarding me for being bad. I mean, it also... You could even go like a step further to some extent. Dude, I'm so happy we have Transcendence. Wasn't this like our second to last item on our earlier save file? That's like a very rare one. Or at least it can be. Unicorn Stump was our least, it was our last found, right? If I remember correctly. Is there an enemy? Am I losing my mind? Can I leave the room? I gotta sneeze too. It's coming. Oh, give me a moment. I gotta mute myself. I'm telling you, dude, cyber lungs. Put me on the cyber lung list. I'm ready. We're in a great spot right here. We could do boss rush. I do want to, I mean, it would be nice to become Guppy, so like if we could just hit this curse room and be set, that would be super cool. Our range is not, I mean, the only way we're going to get range we're thrilled with is if we get Brimstone. But we can get range that's like not deleterious. We do not want Mr. Boom. All I can think about is on the first floor, that was probably a range upgrade. Just sitting there in the boss room taunting us. Come play, Ryan. Come play. You could attack an enemy from 40% of the way across the screen. No, get out of my head. Watching a horror movie, it's kind of a unique experience, right? I'm trying to think of what another example is. I kind of see it like a mild version of being on a roller coaster. A lot of people compare to like eating spicy food. I don't really feel that way. I'm a coward. I love spicy food. Like, I order... Usually, I don't like to get the hottest thing on the menu because it burns my widow whips. But, you know, if we're going to a place... There's a chain in Vancouver. It's called the Noodle Box. And, you know, well, it's in British Columbia, but the, food, you know, I'm for it. It's one of my favorite chains, but they make like basically stir fries and noodle-based dishes, but you know, it's hit or miss depending on the specific franchise that you're at. But it's one of the very, very few chains I've ever seen in my entire life that will actually make spicy food. Like, it hasn't been so corporatized that they're like, we can't make stuff that spicy. People might complain. So if you order something like at maximum spiciness, it will hurt you, which is why I do not order at maximum spiciness. I order one below. And when I eat, you know, my lips are burning. I get that like bitter, sort of like scratchiness in my mouth, and I like it. I really see it more like a milder version of riding a roller coaster, where you're like, I am paying someone to make me uncomfortable, and the more uncomfortable they make me, the better it is. Like, but even then on a roller coaster, I guess like part of the draw is like the release of tension. Whereas or not the release of tension, sorry, it's like, you know, the feeling of adrenaline rush you get, I guess, is what I was trying to say. Whereas in a horror movie, you know, it just ends. It's not like you get to the top of the ride and then it's like, I mean, you're also not being dropped, you know, 75 or 150 feet over the course of 0.3 seconds, strapped into a chair that for some reason is also related to a movie property. Even so, I never understood. You go to like Canada's Wonderland, and they're like, "This is the Lara Croft ride," and you're like, "Oh, I don't remember the part where she got in a steel ball and laid down, and then like, I don't know, went on a track while Aerosmith's Don't Want to Miss a Thing played." But anyway, I digress. I don't dislike horror movies. I like them. But I hate roller coasters. And that's where I'm trying to figure out where my hypocrisy lies. Spicy food? Great. Roller coasters? 25.75. Horror movies? Great. Skydiving? No thank you. You can go. Doesn't bother me if you go. I mean, this is good. Do we want more red heart? I guess we want more red hearts so we can replenish them more readily. And that was not meant as a pun, but like, I'm just thinking about Forget Me Now. Do I want to do Boss Rush? I don't really think that I want to do Boss Rush. I'll do Boss Rush. I'm just not sure if I want to do Boss Rush. Why am I doing it? Well, I'm doing it for a couple of reasons, okay? One is, the more we do as Azazel, the less we have to do as Azazel. I'm so cheesed. You got me so cheesed. A single Gertie Jr. should not be able to do this much damage to the Lord of Destruction. That's Bale. Actually, that's Bale. Where'd you learn that from? Diablo. The Bible. My mom won't let me play violent video. Dude, what are you doing watching this video? I say the F word sometimes. What mama don't know won't hurt her. I was hoping you would explain the ending of Hereditary. You know, get me out of here, dude. This is going wrong. Forget Boss Rush this time. We out. I gotta level with you. Our stats are kind of terrible. I don't really see this as a good run to fight Hush on. And I'm at a... Ooh, thank God. I'm at a point in my life where I, like, will not fight Hush just to get it done most of the time. Like, the run has to be half decent. I have more respect for myself now than I've ever had in my entire life. So, like, I used to debase myself. Yeah, I'm the dude who fights the Hush no matter what. Nah, I'm not gonna give you a literally, like, an 11-minute Hush fight just to prove I can do it. They can come out with an Isaac too if they want to see that, okay? We're gonna do it on the runs that make the most sense. Makes the most fun for me and the viewer. But I am like, I find horror movies kind of interesting, because every other movie is kind of like, every other genre, I should say, is very different. I guess thrillers, but even then, I don't know, like, in a horror movie, you get, or at least I do, I get genuinely anxious. I'm not like watching the movie through my fingers, but, you know, they're like manipulating the audience to feel tension and emotion and, you know, fear, really, anxiety at least. No other movie does that. Like in thrillers, you might be like, oh my God, I wonder what's gonna happen next. But nobody's watching like the Thomas Crown Affair, and they're watching it through like, you know, their fingers are like clutching their husband and being like, what's happening? They're like, well, it's Pierce Brosnan, he's Thomas Crown. Yeah, it's a thrill a minute, but it's not scary. I guess it's because other movies, there's kind of like, I guess there's an unwritten kind of like contract you have. Like if you were watching The Wedding Crashers, and all of a sudden like Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn found themselves getting like tortured in a genuine haunted house, and like being hunted down by malevolent spirits or aliens or, you know, clowns or what have you. For the first, like, 5 minutes, you'd probably be laughing, being like, oh, what a subversion of my expectations. But then, after that, you might feel betrayed. You might be like, I signed up to laugh, and this movie's making me scared. Every other movie is like, hey, the consequences aren't going to be, like, that big. In a horror movie, it's like anything could happen. The killer could pop out of a closet right now and, you know, cut somebody open. Well, I mean, I guess we'll keep stacking. Oh, dude, Sign me up. Battery baby is very strange here. Not really what we were looking for. In that way, horror movies are unique. I recognize that it sounds like I'm not saying horror movies. I hope Google DeepMind hasn't been rude to me in this episode. I'm trying to say horror movies, but the English language was very... I mean, it's a horror show in and of itself. It was very malevolently designed to make it sound like you're talking about, you know, prostitution. But instead, you're just talking about Hereditary, one of 2018's must-see movies. Ooh. I always feel betrayed, though. I don't like... I mean, it's still pretty cheap to buy a movie and video on demand, but I recognize that whenever I talk about buying a movie on pay-per-view, essentially I am outing myself as being 100 years old. Like, the only people I've ever spoken to who still buy stuff on demand are me and my parents. For me, it's just convenience. Ugh, no deal with the devil. The speed up is so useful, though. I'm like, I want to see this movie. Yes, I could wait, and maybe it'll show up on Netflix. But, you know, I want to see it now. But it creates the ultimate betrayal, which is, you know, if I see Hereditary is on Netflix next month, first, I'm going to turn to the distributors and be like, what are you doing? This movie is a smash hit. Aren't you worried? Like, it might get nominated for an Oscar. I don't know what for, because I only know, like, the 5 biggest Oscar categories. But, like, I don't know, there might have been some stuff in that movie. It's best original catering, you know? You never know. Once it gets nominated for an Oscar, the VOD sales and Blu-rays, etc., are going to skyrocket. Don't put that on Netflix. When your movie tanks, put it on Netflix. I just feel bad for the distributors. I feel bad for the Hollywood bigwigs. Well, you know what? They're not Hollywood bigwigs. That's an A24 movie. They're making interesting stuff on relatively shoestring budgets. I looked it up, Hereditary, and you're like, stop talking about Hereditary. Okay, I'll go back to talking about freaking F1. And then that's when Twitch chat goes, yes, please. And I go, oh no, they've called my bluff. But that movie was made for $10 million. That's amazing to me. Let me explain to you why I don't think that $10 million is a pittance, but that movie has like 3 actors I know in it, and they made it for $10 million. On top of that, renting equipment, sets, catering, you know, whatever, there's some licensed music in it. All the other actors I've never heard of who also had to get paid. Like, the fact that marketing, the fact that they were able to make that movie for $10 million is insane to me. I mean, Gabriel Byrne, who plays the husband in that movie, was in The Usual Suspects. I'm sure he's not like, hey, give me $20 million to be in your movie. I haven't seen him in anything since like 1997, but still, you know, he's not a nobody. Toni Collette's been around forever. And then the kid was just in Jumanji. That movie made like $1 billion. He's probably like, you know, he's got a rider that's the length of my arm. Oh, only have cherry lime LaCroix in my trailer. It's always interesting to me as well because Hereditary stars an 11-year-old actress. I'm always like, I wonder what they... I guess they... Even if you're a child, if they explain the story to you, and they're like, hey, this is the role that you're going to play in the story, it's probably not as scary. It's not like they told the kid it's like a happy-go-lucky sort of like, it's a family-friendly comedy. And then when she went to the premiere, she was like, holy crap. Y'all are doing some messed up stuff. You shouldn't lie to that poor child. You unlocked Begotten Baby. The caves are flooded. Oh, good. I'm not going to fight Hush because we will 100% die. What am I doing with Forget Me Now? You know what? You are an actual genius. That's what I'm doing with Forget Me Now. How do you feel about that? I like this map way better from what I can see. I mean, like, money doesn't go that far in Hollywood, I'm assuming. You see the same on Kickstarter, right? In the salad days of Kickstarter, a game would be like, we're gonna make a better version of Madden. And you're like, oh, how much money should we ask for? You know, like $30 or $40 million. $7,500. And then they break down the costs, and it's always ridiculous. It's always like, you know, $40 for 3D models, $100 for an Unreal license, and then like $30 a month for meals. And you're like, who's gonna? This is insane. Like, one developer is gonna cost you like at least 40 or 50 grand a year if you're in the United States. And that'd be them taking like a discount to work on a passion project, probably. So you end up with these like posts that are like, where's our game? And by the way, it's kind of like the developer's fault for being naive. I'm not blaming the people who backed the campaign, because it's not necessarily their responsibility, I guess, to know the budgets of digital products, which I don't either. I'm just saying. We donated $25,000 to get a better version of The Legend of Zelda. It was going to be The Legend of Zelda in 3D with God of War caliber graphics. We gave you the price of a modest American sedan. Where's my masterpiece? So to see that, like, a movie was made for like $10 million, I still think that's pretty impressive. Now, it made like $100 million at the box office, so they're crushing it. More power to you. But that's cool. Inevitably, Hereditary 2 will have a $75 million budget. It'll open to $30 million and then make $12 after that, and it'll be garbage. But anyway, I'm leaving. You know why I'm leaving? Because I'm not gonna freaking fight Delirium with this run that kind of stinks. But other than that, it went pretty well. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It's a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I will see you next time. See ya!